And when they hear EWF has walked into this congressional leader's office, they understand the history of us and this return, which dates back to at least the 1800s with the United States. So those are the next two R's: are reparations and repatriations. The next two R's have to do with restoration and reform. So restoration is, sometimes when we have a history where things have gone left, or we have difficulty unifying, or there's an issue of stinking thinking, or there's a cancer that has grown within an organization, within a federation, we don't take the time to restore the hearts and minds. And then that's what this year is about as well. It's being in all the places with our members. It's valuing the work that our members have already done, and it's elevating the examples of what's working from different locals. But restoring the hearts and mind and making people, if your feelings were hurt by one of your fellow members of EWF, we acknowledge that because we're imperfect. We can do a lot of harm to each other. We have done a lot of harm to each other. But this is the time for us to restore and bring people back, but from reclamation, but also do better. Do better as a people and harm each other less. Acknowledge each other's different perspectives. Learn tolerance. Learn conflict resolution. Those are the things that I'm including or encapsulating when I'm talking about restoration. Reform is, some of our policies are archaic. I'm not saying our constitution and bylaws are archaic. I believe that our constitution and bylaws stand today as they always stood, and I'm very much not in favor of making changes to our constitution and bylaws. I think it stood the test of time. But I think within our internal policies, there's opportunity to modernize, as His Imperial Majesty had to do in Ethiopia. And there was resistance then, and there's resistance now with us trying to modernize our policies. But this is a time for us to look at how we reform our behaviors and our policies internally. But we are the reformers of the world. We're the light of the world as the EWF, and we're the reformers of policy. So even, my industry, cannabis policy, making reform there so less people are harmed, less separation of people from their families through arrest and incarceration, reforming immigration policy. That's our responsibility as the EWF as well. So we're doing reform internally. We're doing the work on ourselves, but we're also taking this approach to reform and showing the world that there's a need for modernization and change and harm reduction policy work, and we're here for it. And then the final R has to do with relief from financial insufficiency. You know, sometimes people like to think righteousness and poverty go hand in hand. I disagree. I I think there's so many biblical examples when you look at Abraham. I was reading, actually today, the scripture I was reading, or no, this was yesterday when I was at the summit, and I was reading in Genesis, and it said that Esau had to leave from next to his brother Jacob because they were so prosperous that they couldn't be prosperous that close together. They had so much livestock, there wouldn't be enough grass, so they needed to separate to expand their prosperity. In scripture it says, "O barren woman, enlarge your tent." We need to have that mindset of how do we expand, how do we enlarge, how do we do it in a way aligned with our constitution and bylaws, in alignment with our value system, in alignment with the laws. But sometimes there's a time for us to really expand what our thinking is as far as what we can achieve financially. We need to build a treasury as the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated, and that's at the top of our agenda along with the other 7 R's. So I'll just repeat them really quickly: recruitment, reclamation, reparations, repatriation, restoration, reform, and then finally relief from financial insufficiency. And that is how I picked up the mantle for the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated, with those 7 R's at the forefront.
I'm looking at a question that is asked by one of our listeners that just come in. And
Yes.
the listener said, please ask, what does the international president envisage the financial plan of the IEC will be? Will it encompass the locals?
Yes, so that's a really good question, and I don't do this work alone. So I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge my colleagues on the IEC, each one of them duly elected by our membership. And our international treasurer has a great vision, and she's done. We had to do some reformation with regards to how do we process money, how do we take in money, and we're even having some conversations about Bitcoin because country after country after country in Africa is accepting Bitcoin. South Africa is accepting Bitcoin at gas stations. We can't be ostriches with our heads in the sand. We need to modernize. So a big part of our work this year, under the leadership of our international treasurer, is modernizing how we take money. She got us a Stripe account. We're looking at Coinbase and being able to take coin for donations. We got our donation page up and running with our multimedia team, which is led by a third elected member on the IEC. So we work collaboratively as an IEC to remove the barriers. We have for a long time accepted that, oh, our locals in Africa, it's not easy for them to get money out of Africa, so they can keep their dues where they are. We're trying to modernize, so there's a two-way transferability as far as money in and out of our locals. So that was the first part, is getting that Stripe account. Being able, looking at Revolut is another solution she looked at, and modernizing in that way, so it's easier for the locals, and then we can help them replicate what we've done as an IEC. Now, with regards to the locals, I'm very much a person that believes in a balance between federal and local. So although I'm the international president, I look at my local presidents as leaders. And when I meet with my local presidents once a month, I approach them as leaders. I tell them what if we decide something as an IEC, if we need feedback as an IEC, there's a lot of engagement. I have a long agenda every, first Thursday of the month for our local presidents as leaders in their own right. So we support their efforts. We encourage their own programming with regards to fundraising. But in addition, we look at how we can incorporate our locals into our fundraising ideas, our treasury building ideas. One thing that has kind of pressed the fast forward button on our analysis of how equipped we are at the local level as well as the federal level for our fundraising efforts is with the terrible hurricane that took place, Hurricane Melissa, which impacted our locals in Jamaica, our local in Haiti, and some of our other locals in the Caribbean. So we didn't anticipate that. We didn't. But what it did is it gave us a bird's eye view. It was shining the flashlight on the fact that we're not joined up with regards to how we receive money. So different locals, because we are very empathetic people, and we're always doing aid related activity in the EWF at the local level as well as at the federal level. It just demonstrated to us that everyone's doing something different. So even how we fundraise for Hurricane Melissa, survivors, is different in every single local. So some have what is it, GoFundMe, or some are working with another organization, or some have another link, or they have a donate page and things like that. We have to work on more alignment and giving like a toolkit, financial toolkit to our locals, so it's like automatic. We're collecting for this, whether it's just straight receipts of the meeting, or whether it's some type of aid project, or it's collecting our own dues before convention. All those things, we need to be aligned so we know exactly how it's happening in every single local. So yes, the strategy around relief from financial insufficiency is focused on the locals as the cornerstone for the federation. But even another level of granularity is the fact that the committee structure is where I'm focusing. These committees have a responsibility with regards to the operations of each local, and therefore the fundraising of each local. So we really have to have this realistic view. We just had elections. Congratulations to all the newly elected local officers. Very proud of the posts that I've seen in our local president's chat and all over. We did our elections. These are our new officers. I've never seen this much energy around our local elections before, and it's really exciting. But in addition to that, now the president of each local has an opportunity to appoint committees. It's a balancing act because I've been a local president. I was recently elected for local 12 again. This is my third time as local president, and before that I served as the first vice president. But as local president and you're doing your committee appointments, it's a balancing act because I feel in every local, but I can definitely say in local 12, there's a group of people that tend to do a lot of the work and they wear different hats. What we need to do through, again, looking at the 7R strategy and reclaiming people is what other talent do we have that we're not utilizing for these committees? Because these people are going to burn out being the chair of Ways and Means and the chair of membership and the chair of this, that, and the other. And it's happening across our locals. This is not a local 12 conversation. But we need to reclaim our members. We need to recruit talent so that we have that entry point of leadership is the committee structure. We're not just repurposing our executive committee of each local and then making them committee chairs. Also, we have that can be a separate level of leadership in the committee structure. The committee is the cornerstone for each local. So through a really active Ways and Means committee, there's programming, there's fundraising happening, there are efforts around fiscal austerity happening in our banking committees. That is how we have a reverse pyramid approach to relief from financial sufficiency by not just saying, this is my strategy and I'm rolling it out. No, I'm looking at what's happening in each local, how strong is that committee structure, how do we integrate new talent and gifted people into the federation at the committee level so that they, based on their work at the committee level, they are recognized by their peers. And when we have elections in December, they're giving a leadership position on the executive committee of that local. And then eventually those individuals, based on their leadership, are being identified at a federal level for potential to run for office to be a part of the IEC.
Okay, I hear you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure this is hear you as well. There's another question that comes
Sure.
from another listener about the Constitution.
Yes.
In this day and age, shouldn't we consider moving the headquarters to Africa and stop sending money from a poor country like Africa to New York?
No, who says Africa's a poor country,
Well,
a poor continent? I think that's a misconception. We have so many black millionaires and billionaires in
that's
Africa.
not the point, is it?
No, that is the point because we tend to say Africa poor, and we don't look at the resources in Africa. We don't organize our African locals and support our African locals into commerce. We don't do enough commerce with our African locals so that they can be empowered and be able to do the exact same things that are happening out west, especially as they're preparing for us to repatriate.
Let me
Yeah,
rephrase it.
yeah,
Let me rephrase it.
please do.
As it is now,
Yeah,
yes, most African countries, say, for instance, Ghana, where we
yes,
are right now, the unemployment rate in Ghana is phenomenal. Okay,
yes,
most young people don't have anything at all or any income.
yes,
Now, for most people coming to meeting, or meeting amongst your members,
right,
some of the time they usually cannot find the money to pay their social fare, their bus fare, whatever it is, to come to meeting.
yeah,
So mostly we do a meeting via WhatsApp.
right,
And here with WhatsApp, you need data to use WhatsApp. Some of them can't even find the money to buy data because when you ask someone for 10 CDs to buy
mm-hmm.
data to come to meeting, that 10 CD can buy a kenke and feed them for the day.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
You're going to use it to come to meeting. Okay. We're
Yeah,
talking about in that respect because most people here, like I said, they're struggling, really struggling. So
Right.
in that respect, if you ask someone to send to pay their dues, and knowing that that dues money that they pay is going to America, which is an affluent, much more affluent country than Ghana, per se.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where is the justification there?
Because I think we're looking at it wrong. I think we're not looking at the full demographics of the country. I think we're not doing enough recruitment on college campuses. I think we're not doing a enough recruitment for members in industry. I think there are people who should be members of the Ethiopian World Federation that not only will look at their dues as a nominal fee in Ghana, but they would probably pay dues for up to 10 other people because they have enough funds. But we need to change our recruiting strategies in the African continent. We have to make sure that we are matching the demographics financially of the country. So, whatever our demographics are for our local here, it should match the demographics of the country. So, you're saying there's a high unemployment rate, but even if it's a 1% of the country is a billionaire in Ghana, we should recruit the 1% billionaires.
Okay.
If there are people who are making over $100,000, and you look at the demographics for Ghana for people making, and I'm using U.S. figures, not as a disrespect, but just because that's what I'm closest to. If there's a certain amount, let's say it's 18% of Ghana. I haven't looked at this stat, but we'll pull the stats. 18% of Ghanaian members, working class people or working demographic people make over $100,000. Then 18% should be what we're recruiting for in our locals, and I find that we don't do that in our locals here. We presume that all the people who would be interested in Ethiopian World Federation are people in poverty, but we don't have and again, this ties into our committee structure given to us by His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I, and he created a membership committee. When you read that definition for the membership committee of each local in the Constitution and bylaws, it says the membership committee is supposed to have a strategic plan for recruiting members. If I said, all right, on Monday, I'd like every membership committee to bring to me their membership plan so I can review it, give support, and provide feedback. Do you think we're able to do that at this point? I don't think so. But is that where we should be aspiring towards? We absolutely should. So I don't believe I'm not accepting the poverty equals EWF members narrative. I am saying we need to recruit really good strategic people to chair our membership committees in all of our locals so that they come up with a strategic plan for recruitment. EWF, when we founded EWF, when we look at the starting board, when we look at how it started, yes, it started in the United States, but there were people of different means that were recruited. And there were a lot of intellectuals included as well. So I think we need to really challenge ourselves to think beyond, oh, people don't have money for this, and say, but have I got, when we should be going to every graduation, we should be given, especially in Ghana, we should be handing a kente to every graduate when we raise money to be able to do that and to say, you are part of the Black people of the world. This is our contact information. We want you. We should drive towards being there so that we are introduced to the population that is going to lead the country, instead of saying, oh, people who need aid, people who have needs, those are the people who are membership. That's what our membership looks like. No, I don't accept that. And every country is diverse. That's like saying, and this is the same way I challenge when, I'm a cannabis attorney. So people say, oh, they're Colombians who are buying that license in whatever state that is. They're using drug money. No, Colombia is a whole country. They have doctors, lawyers, they have all types of occupations. They don't just have drug dealers. And I think when we talk about Ghana has different levels. I saw them yesterday and the day before, which is why I was very intentional about making sure that we were acknowledged as the Ethiopian World Federation. You can't talk about repatriation and diaspora and leave EWF out of the conversation, because that has always been our purpose. We were some of the first repatriates. So with that, those people in the room with their fine attire and their influence and their connections to government, they need to be in one of my locals in Ghana. And we need a strategic plan for that to happen. Yeah.
Those are the people that we were close concerned in the Ethiopian Federation
Mm-hmm.
of very little. Yeah, and they said, we talk about federation is good.
Yeah.
Everything about federation is good.
Yeah.
But how does it put food on my table? How do what's in it for me? When I give my dues, whatever the dues is,
Yeah.
how does it come back to me so that I can send my children to school
Yeah.
and
That's
feed my children?
that's a great. That's a great. Yeah.
The international head office at the moment
Mm-hmm.
has no policy for helping the local in financial attainment.
I disagree with that. I think we have an agricultural committee that hasn't been rolled out. I'm reviewing the policy for that. So there's the agricultural committee, which was passed by passed in it's a resolution passed in 2024. I have to review. There is a policy, but I'm revising that policy.
How does it help
Because we have
individual members
for a country
in Ghana? Right
yes,
now?
because specifically for a country like Ghana that has an agrarian history and has so much wealth in rural society, that policy is critically important, and that's why I'm slow rolling it because I'm thinking from a global perspective. It's not just soil. It's when you think about an agricultural policy, there's aquaculture, there's
futuristic, all of them futuristic.
it's not futuristic. It's happening right now, and it's part of how plants are grown in Volta currently. It's not just seed and substrate happening in Volta right now. Because I talked to them when I was there in October. They're using fish remains. They're doing creative things. So it's really when we're talking about an agricultural committee, which can be a huge revenue generation for the local specifically on the continent, because the rural economy has not yet sufficiently been explored. Those are ways that the federal EWF is looking at helping. A lot of it is education and training and alignment. Also, a bit business networking or business development committee. Each local passed by resolution in 2024 convention is supposed to have a business development committee. So I've been in office since July. What's that? 5 months or so. 5 months I've been in office. So there's a lot of work left to do, but the work that I'm doing is extremely strategic work. It's not just, oh, I just want to be able so people can't talk about the fact that I'm doing nothing. I'm not just treading water. This is putting in place things that will be in place beyond me that'll will cause multi-generational wealth through education, through international support. So when you say, what do I say to the person who's like, I'm paying my dues, what am I getting for it? When we have our committee structure in place, when we have our educational programs in place, that $5.20 is going to give them an entry point to a lot of fiscal management related education, as well as different things that are happening in the committees. It's just that we're working towards that because we've changed administrations. It's only been 5 months, but our long-term plan is to make sure that people get significant value for money for that $5.20. It should be like a university. We just hired our education, our Freedom School director, and we're working towards giving her full job description and things like that. The freedom, just access to our Freedom School, based on how we're going to build out our Freedom School and the type of education that they'll be getting, $5.20 a year is nothing compared to what they're going to be getting in return. So that's my response is it's in progress. It is a federal as well as a local plan. But when we're talking about a federal local plan, it definitely includes the committee structure that we were given by His Imperial Majesty, and not ignoring how important that presidential appointment at a local level is for the future of the federation and the future of each local. I reject the fact that there's a reason why we're with the room I was in yesterday and the day before that we are not actively. We should have flyers at that the only flyers I saw at the diaspora conference was the one for Door, which is the return decade of the return. That's the only flyer. You have a captive audience, everyone from the president of the country all the way down. You have a youth delegation that attended. You have an international community, and we didn't have one EWF flyer there trying to recruit people from that think tank that was there yesterday and the day before. Not a criticism. It's like 2026, we're going to do better. That's not going to be our experience 2026. We're going to have palm cards 2026. We're going to have a QR code 2026. We're going to work to make sure EWS have speakers on the day as 2026. We're going to, hopefully we can build a treasure where we can be one of the sponsors showed on the screen. I want our QR code shown on the screen for the Diaspora Conference 2026. Because that was I don't want to say it was a waste of an opportunity. We just didn't know what it would be like. Now we know what that think tank looks like, and all I saw were EWF members in that room. Future EWF members. All those movers and shakers, to me, they were just future EWF members. And they weren't all poor. So that's my answer to that question. We got to get moving. That membership committee, whoever you choose now, as president again for the membership committee, one of your strongest people. Your strongest need to Ways and Means, membership committee, women's auxiliary, strongest people, and they may not even be here yet. But we need to recruit the right people for those roles, because that's how the Federation truly rises. Because those are some powerful, powerful, powerful committees with regards to finances. And then empowering the banking committee to tell the truth to the membership is, this is our situation. What are we going to do? It can start out, everybody wants to do a dance. I'm not opposed to it. Do a dance. Sometimes we can do, people don't want to do, but put the juvenile unit to do car washes and things in a safe environment where someone would pay them to wash their cars, whatever, and see what happens. Sometimes people just give donations. Ask when the planning committee for Diaspora Summit 2026 say, we want to have our youth in the parking lot selling cakes and also washing cars for people who need that during that time. Is that a service we can provide for our juvenile unit? And we position our youth to build an economy at that Diaspora Summit, because nobody else is. There were so many economic opportunities that were missed over the past 2 days here in Ghana with that audience. We're not going to make that mistake next year.
There's another question that comes up from the listener.
Yeah.
What does the president feel she has actually achieved since being in office?
Yeah, I feel like I've achieved a spirit of unity for sure. I've engaged members that have said goodbye to the Federation, and they have come back after my outreach and in response to my leadership. I think that's a huge accomplishment. I have encouraged a very strong relationship with the Ethiopian Orthodox Church that we haven't typically had in the past, and I'm very proud of that. In addition to that, outreach to other Pan-African organizations. We have an extremely strong relationship with the UNIA. In addition to that, I made the EWF a stakeholder in the conversation about global Black food sovereignty. So I was an attendee at the Global Black Food Sovereignty Conference here in Ghana in October, and I introduced the EWF to that audience of Pan-African organizations that are focused on the safety of food and the accessibility of food to Black people, regardless of whether a disaster is happening, regardless if a war is happening, us having that type of sovereignty over our own food. EWF is not only a part of the conversation, but hopefully, and just dropping a little nugget, in our next convention, we can have a resolution where each local is the organizer for Pan-African organizations with the conversation about Black food sovereignty. EWF is a stakeholder in the conversation about the ITEL certification for ganja, because as a result of my work, and I attended the ITEL certification, and I was one of the leaders developing the ITEL certification and doing the review of the policy in Volta region. relationship with Rastafari Mansions. In addition to the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, I've strengthened the relationship with Rastafari Mansions in multiple cities, from Jamaica to Miami, Florida, to in working in the UK. I've done that. So I feel like, my strength is relationship building. My strength is strategic planning. Nothing I do is by accident. And I also say, the capstone is on that is strengthening the relationship with His Imperial Highness, Prince Ermias, who leads the Crown Council. So not only do we have a strong relationship of mutual respect, appreciation, and desire to work together with the Crown Council, but also with the Royal Ethiopian Trust. In addition to that, I'm planning a trip to Ethiopia and Shashamani so I can see for myself, so we can develop relationships with the Roma land administration, so that we can develop relationships with the Ethiopian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So what have I done in the 5 months that I've been international president of the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated? Feel like I've done a great job, and I feel like there's more that needs to be done. I run towards that work. I'm very ambitious. I work collaboratively with others. So when we say, what have I accomplished? I didn't accomplish it alone. We have a full IEC. We meet every other week. We have very long meetings, which is a sacrifice for every single IEC member who sits at the table. And I don't think that's bad for 5 months out of a 1-year administration.
Another question. What can we do to make EWF more attractive for those kinds of people who can contribute the kind of money, pay dues for those who can't?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question, but it's not attracting people who can pay more money. It's attracting people based on their values. We want, first of all, our remit is all Black people of the world.
What can we do to attract them?
Yes, so we, again, not missing opportunities like we did this past week, and I'll take responsibility just like my locals here will take responsibility, and taking advantage of these events that are happening with Pan-African organizations and with governments, and being there, whether it's wearing our colors and sitting as a delegation, making sure we start off becoming part of the invitee list, and then from there we become the speakers. And when we become the speakers and own the conversation, people are going to come up to us afterwards because they're going to see what we stand for. I did that in the ganja industry. I went to my first cannabis event and I was in the audience and I said, there's no one here from my community in the audience, in the vending area, on stage. That needs to change because this is indigenous medicine. This is our medicine. This is Rastafari medicine. The next event I was speaking, I've been speaking ever since. And then when I've gotten to the point where I'm now looking at succession planning, I'm putting other younger people than me up to speak, so I don't have to fly all over the place. But by being that voice on stage, you have tremendous amount of influence, and people will seek you out and want to be a part of what you're talking about. When I talk about at cannabis events, I talk about the EWF, and people come up to me afterwards and they're like, how do I get involved with the EWF? When I went to the Mbongi Global Black Sovereignty Conference, and I'm saying, EWF, we need to make our declaration for Black sovereignty start, we the Black people of the world, just like the EWF Constitution, because we are the umbrella for the Black people of the world. That's what you do to recruit people.
One would say that cannabis has a tendency to attract people because, number one, the efficacy of it, and number two, it is financially lucrative. That's the attraction for that. When you say you would recruit members, it takes me back to the original question. What's in it for me? Because if you're going to compare it with cannabis, everyone can see what's in it for them from the cannabis side point of view. But with the federation, in a society such as this, what's in it that is attractive, that we can use to attract members, that they can say, okay, I know that I can go home and I can get this from it in the way that they can get from cannabis.
So cannabis, it's a misconception that what's in it for me is very clear with cannabis. Being in the cannabis industry is extremely grueling. Most people are on.
We know what it's about, because even to the fact that most people do sorry to interrupt you,
Yeah.
but into the fact that most people grow it illegally
Right.
and can make a living from it that way.
Yeah.
It has all sorts of doors that you can open and they can use. With that, you can see that there's something, whether it is legal or illegal, in it for them. But but for the federation in total as a whole, it's not like that. You have to work on it for a period of time. And as you said, while the grass is growing, the horse is starving. What's in it for the
It's industry specific. Cannabis is one of many
federation?
industry. Yes, the federation is encompassed of, or should be encompassed of, multiple industries. So you have cannabis. We're saying that cannabis, you see how it can be lucrative, but I see the other side of it where there's a lot of failing businesses and things like that. But some people can be successful in the cannabis industry. But food is recession proof. Africans at home and abroad have fed the world for centuries. Food is really where we should be focused. But if you don't want to focus on food, there's the whole AI emergence that is happening. We should be training all these free trainings that are happening online. I go on Instagram, free training by Alicia Little, free training by this other person. We need to be taking advantage of all of it, especially our younger people, and have AI consultants in every local that we send out in community to these businesses and say, let me show you how you can be more efficient with AI. You will pay me this amount per month and I'll be your AI consultant, and we will optimize how you do business, and you will have reduced staff needs. You will have, we can use bots to do your sales. There's so many things that we're not taking advantage of. It is industry by industry specific. That's the what's in it for me, is we can't just look at one industry like cannabis. We need to look at all the potential emerging industries and prepare through our freedom school, prepare the next generation and our current generation to be competitive. That's what we need to do.
Futuristic.
Yeah, yeah, future, but it's happening now. We think it's futuristic, but it's happening right now. People can take a class, and some people are taking free classes. One of my brethren I was with yesterday, I had an AI book that I was reading, that I had bought on Amazon, and then I just gave it to him because he's been with me the whole, 2 days that I was there. And I was like, "You doing anything in AI?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm researching." And I gave him the, Chat GPT, Become a Millionaire Through Chat GPT book. So that can open a whole occupation for him in this area that is emerging that we can't avoid. That if we do ignore, we are going to still be taking 6 months to build an app when a 13-year-old is building an app in 10 minutes because we're ignoring this opportunity and we're focused on archaic opportunities. There's a lot you can get from the EWF. One of my members, because I did an AI class, because I took an AI class over 3 days that was free. And then when I learned all the little things, I said, "Oh, I'm going to do one for the Federation." And that's what we did on a Saturday. We did an AI class for a Federation. So one of our members in the UK, he reached out to me like last week and he's like, "Oh, do you know where I can find AI education?" Well, I'm getting these emails from the free education. And I said, "Here's a class happening today." And he's like, "Oh, thank you so much." That's an industry he's creating for himself, that he's gotten that benefit because he's a member of EWF and he knows me. And he can message his international president and say, "Hey, I know you looking into the AI thing. I have interest." And I can say, "There's a class today that's free. Join on Zoom." That's the benefit that we provide, the ability to bring these things into everyone's home, everyone's office, so that we are at the cutting edge of innovation, not just innovation with regards to technology, but innovation as far as ways of thinking and future occupations. He can have clients in Japan from the UK. He can have clients in Africa as an AI consultant and optimizing their business. That's what's within reach, and that he, through his federation relationships, he can have. So yeah, I feel like we offer a lot. I just, historically, I think we overemphasize the history, because even if you look at our chats, there's a lot of like historical reels and stories and pictures and things, which is good. We need to know our history, but I think there's value in that. I think that alone is worth $5.20 a year, just being able to interact with ones who have the original newspaper clippings about His Imperial Majesty, are understanding the history of our colors, understanding the relationships with the UNIA. The fact that we have such a strong relationship with the UNIA that we can literally pick up the phone and get a product in the Rock in Queens, New York from Africa. We've done it before. We've done it several times before where we can say, hey, this person has products. Would you be able to carry it in the Rock? And usually the answer is, unless there's saturation on that product line, yeah, we'll carry. We'll see how it goes. That's worth more than $5.20 a year. So we offer a lot of benefit. We just don't really, you know, talk about it enough. We talk about the problems, but we don't talk about the benefit of our network. They say your network is your net worth, and EWF is a perfect example of that. So I just gave you a few examples where through connection, I got someone on the pathway to being an AI consultant, and I got somebody to have their product in the Rock being sold in a warehouse, like a big warehouse shop in Queens, New York. That's worth more than $5.20 a year.
Okay, I hear you. Here's another question.
Yes.
Since it has been 5 months since the last convention.
Yes.
When will the convention report be published so that existing resolution can be tracked?
The convention report was sent months ago to each RCS for each local. So whoever that is, please go to your local and talk to your RCS so that they can show you the report that was sent out by our executive secretary on the outcomes of the convention. Because that's not an IEC thing. And we're republishing, because we hear this all the time, which is based on fallacy. We're republishing. We were waiting for an update on the resolutions. We were waiting for elections, because it doesn't make sense. We actually voted on it. We actually had a whole conversation as the IEC. Should we send this out again, since people are saying that they haven't gotten it? And then we said, no, it doesn't make sense we send it out now, and then they have new elections and new officers that don't have the information. Once the elections, we pass the election cycle period, we're going to send the report with updates on where we are out again, so that the new officers who are going to be leading these locals will have the information to cascade throughout their membership.
Okay, here's another question.
Yeah.
You're a lawyer.
Yes, I am.
So that means that your duty first.
That's a lie. That's a fabrication to that whole situation. And I want to really call attention to the stinking thinking that happens within Black people organizations and the cancers that exist in Black people organizations. There are ones that would like to promote the fact that because I take an oath as a lawyer when I'm sworn in, just like all the nurses take an oath and all the doctors take an oath and all the people who are naturalized citizens take an oath, which is actually more strong than my oath for sure, that those individuals should be, that the EWF should be starved of that type of talent, educated talent, because they took an oath to an occupation. It is a misinterpretation of the Constitution. It is coming from people with nebulous intentions. It is coming from people who like to look for angles to cause division in our infrastructure, and it's not based on fact. I've been responding to that, and people have been trying to keep me off the ballot for the EWF and prevent me from bringing my talent to the table and to the Federation so that they can be the smartest ones in the room for 4 years. I am not giving that any merit. It says unswerving duty, and His Imperial Majesty uses unswervingly in his speeches all of the time. So there's no dispute as far as what it means to be unswervingly. So yeah, it's unfortunate that we can't get beyond the basement quality of thinking and think on higher levels as the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated.
So I can assume then that you got that question.
I had a
question.
fake letter written about me with regards to that question to keep me off the ballot. These are the sneaky snake-like things that our members are focused on instead of economic enterprise, and it needs to stop. It needs to stop. We are so much better than that. We are so much better than maneuvers to keep people off the ballot because they're smart people. We need to do better. And I'm not tolerating it. I want all the smart people with all the degrees, all the tribal knowledge, all the traditional medicine. You're all welcome in the EWF. And guess what? You're all welcome to apply for a leadership position as long as you're compliant with the Constitution and bylaws, as long as you're compliant with our resolutions that have passed. We recently had a resolution passed in the last election that in order to serve on the IEC, you need to be with the Federation 3 years, and you need to have been on your local's executive committee for 2 years. That makes it harder for people to rise to leadership, but it passed. So we accept that because we're compliant and we're going to comply with it. But these are the things that are challenging. So yeah, no, I've heard that. I've heard that before, and shame on the people that want to hold us back and not incorporate educated people into the federation.
I I anticipate that. I see that you anticipated the question. That this means that
Yeah,
it is a usual question that's been asked.
it surfaces once a year as we're revving up towards convention because people, instead of trying to express what their skills are and why they would be good in positions, are looking for sophistry and false information, putting false information out there so that they have a better chance of winning elections. It's pretty disgusting, to be honest with
Here's
you.
another question.
Yeah.
Do you support the membership identification cards, MIC, that was a result of a resolution at a past convention? Can you comment on the status of the MIC, how well it is going, how many MIC has been issued,
Yeah,
membership
so the membership,
identification
yeah,
card?
thank you for that question. The membership identification cards, it's an evolving process. We did have to just relaunch the program. Okay. We also are in a position where we have reimagined our website. So some of those things are tied, like our sovereignty statement for the membership card is tied to our website. So we had to go through some problem solving with regards to that. But the whole team was engaged, involved, in support of making sure that we were able to transition from our old website and the new website functionality. So we supported the membership cards. So, and the first question was, do I support the membership ID cards? Yes, I support the membership ID cards, but I think we need a little bit more preparation and planning as far as what the full benefit is of the membership ID cards. It can be so much more. We should do the due diligence of finding other benefits within
Mhm.
community for cardholders, but we haven't done that yet. Doesn't mean we're not going to do it, but we're just again scratching the surface on what that benefit is. Being able to show a card and say I'm an EWF member, that's good. It's a benefit. Is it going to is it a key attractor for people getting the card and paying $25 in addition to the $5.20 that you earlier stated people are struggling to find, to pay $25 plus shipping in addition to that? Well, if the $5.20 dues is a challenge, then I'm going to say the $25 for the card plus taxes and shipping is also going to be a challenge. Um, that responsibility is with our membership and our executive secretary. We give updates on the membership. We up until probably last month, we've given updates on the membership ID cards to the local presidents, and on the local presidents meeting every single month. It was an agenda item for the local president. So your president of your local for the 2025 year had the opportunity to not only see it was on the agenda for the international presidents meeting with the local presidents, so they could have attended meetings, so that they could have gotten that information and cascaded to their membership. If they chose not to attend those meetings, they could have also reached out to myself or the executive secretary for an update on the membership cards. But yes, our membership card program is ongoing. It was recently revamped a bit. Part of it had to do with the fact that we've revamped our website, and it's ongoing. For me, it's always about providing the most amount of value. And I think in the future, we will be able to provide even more benefits where people will be like, yeah, I'll pay $25 more for that. I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we're there where we're providing that value that's attractive to the majority of our members, where they're like, I need a card, you know. But I could be wrong, but our numbers kind of show that we can provide more value, and I don't think it's overly difficult for us to do that. I think we just need to, again, have the bodies in place to make that their effort. I am definitely observing and working with the IAC to create strategies where we're not seeing the same people do all the work all the time. We're never going to get where we're supposed to get that way. We need to open up and make leadership attractive. We need to stop putting obstacles and barriers in the place of people who are like, I want to serve. As soon as you say, I want to serve, it's like you get stub up, and it's not right, because people want to hold on to roles way too long, or not transition or not empower or succession plan for the next generation. So that's where I think we need to emphasize is really expanding our leadership and taking advantage of the different levels of leadership, the IEC, local presidency, executive committees, committee leadership, and fill them with people with diverse talents, not all the same people, and then we can do more of the work, and then we can provide more of the value.
Okay. Earlier on, you talked about, you mentioned other mansion. Okay?
Yes.
Now, because I hear one member of the organization, Federation in America, said is unity in diversity. How do you reconcile unity in diversity when it comes down to the Triple World Federation, in relation to the Triple World Federation? Because if you are diverse, where does unity comes in?
Yeah, I mean, my greatest experience is from my local. My local is diverse. We have a lot of Rastafari.
No, I mean other mansion, in relation to other mansion.
Other mansions of Rastafari?
Yeah, they have the so-called.
Yeah, so I would say EWF. I don't consider EWF to be a mansion of Rastafari. So,
Okay.
so when we're saying other mansions, it indicates that EWF is a mansion of Rastafari.
Well, that's what they were earlier on, other mansion.
No, I was talking about the Rastafari mansions and organizations as an entity, which is a group in Jamaica, which has 14 Rastafari mansions and other Rastafari organizations under one hub in Jamaica. Yeah, and yeah, so they have Bingi, they have all the different organizations, and then they also work with CRO, which is the Caribbean Rastafari organizations. The and organizations. So what's happening in the Rastafari community specifically is there's this unification happening where the mansions are coming together in a unified way. But to your question, that's why I just wanted to challenge. Like, I don't consider EWF to be a mansion of Rastafari, because we are for all the Black people of the world. So when we talk about diversity leading to unity, to your question, yes, Muslim members. We should have Muslim members.
Individuals. I'm talking about organizations. Because let me give you an example.
Yeah. So, but I'm going to ask you to get out of the Rastafari context, because EWF is not a Rastafari organization.
I understand.
Okay. All right.
I understand.
Okay. Cool.
Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
I've been to Ethiopia and I've traveled to Ethiopia quite a lot.
Yeah.
Especially Shashamani.
Yes.
When I went to Ethiopia, I see, when I went to Shashamani, I see Bobo, I see Nabi, and I see DR, GRDC, yeah, and other and 12 tribes and all of that.
Yeah.
One example, classical example. Not, as you said, the EWF is not a Rastafarian organization.
Right.
It's not an organization on the whole. I went to church.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to church, I was the only Rastafarian in church.
Mm-hmm.
I was treated like a king.
Mm-hmm.
And the question that was asked is that why is it that Rasta from Ethiopia there,
Mm-hmm.
Roma, why is it that Rasta don't come to church? That's number
Yeah.
one. Number two, why does everyone say that they are Rasta and they don't who follow His Majesty? Like for instance, come together as one organization. It is known that, especially in Shashamane,
Mm-hmm.
that the Ethiopian World Federation was given to the West by His Imperial Majesty.
Yes.
And if all of these brothers they say that they are Rasta or Rastafari, why don't they do as His Majesty do? Because if they were really Rastafari or Rastafarians, the church would be overwhelmed with them for a start. There was a conflict, I don't know if you heard about it. I must have in 19, 27, 2020, where the Roma people they got up and were doing a lot of things concerning the diaspora there in Shashamane. A sister of mine, um, Sister Alma,
Mm-hmm.
she had a hotel, the Lily at the Valley Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
They
I've heard of
came
it.
and they came and challenged her, and she had to run for her life, and they set the hotel on fire. They
Yeah.
are saying that if the Rastafarians were a part of the community instead of divorcing themselves, dividing themselves from others, and become a part of the community, the Roma people, that wouldn't have happened to them because they would see them as a part of them, especially when it comes down to the church side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Because no church member will attack another church member.
It happens all the time.
Well, not in that respect. It's as far as they're concerned that because they are so divided and so separated, it breeds that resentment between the native Ethiopians and Roma and the diasporans that are there. You see? So that's
Yeah.
and that context, that is what I mean. Because really it is a fact that all the other so-called mansion is a distraction is a distraction compared to what His Majesty envisages for us.
Yeah.
Don't you think if we were together as a one, this organization would be a global giant?
Yeah. So I think that's a very loaded question. So first of all, you know, I to answer your question. Okay, I'll answer your question with my EWF hat on first, because I'm very clear on the distinction between EWF with regards and Rastafari. Even though we have Rastafari membership, I don't approach this work necessarily from a perspective of what the challenges are in Rastafari. It's really all the black people of the world. Yes, EWF was given the administration duties with regards to Shashamane. Shashamane has been an evolution. Shashamane has had its challenges. Rastafari also has a relationship and an affinity with Shashamane as well, which is an overlapping with the EWF's duty with regards to Shashamane. So, in talking about why Rastafari doesn't go to church, that is not an EWF that remit to solve that or to answer that, right? So yeah, no, and that's how we educate people and we make it really clear. Why does Rastafari go to church? I think I would flip that and say there's responsibility of the church to attract Rastafari. I would question what is the outreach of the church to Rastafari. So if
I would beg to differ there. Reason being
why?
Reason being that when you're a Rastafarian,
Yeah,
you claim to you as voluntarily
yeah,
take on yourself that role. Then you do what it takes to make you a Rastafarian, and when the church is a part of that. I'm not talking about federation or as a whole, that about Rastafarian.
yeah.
If you are, then it is you, not the church, reaching out to you because
That's the church's job.
the church is always there.
No. The church's job is to reach out to people. Period.
And they do, but
Period.
And they do,
yeah.
But the fact is, take the man to take the house to water, can't make the house.
You can't, but you can at least reach out to people as Christ told you to. So I'm not going to let the church off the hook on that. We can't keep as churchgoers preaching to only the people within the walls and not outreaching to other people. So that is, I stand by that response as far.
How would you suggest the church reach out? In what way?
Have events, develops outreach relationships and collaborative relationships with Rastafari. The same way we as EWF are trying to outreach and collaborate with the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, it should be both ways. I've been in churches where we stood on corners in England. I've been in churches where we were concerned about where the world was going and the fact people hadn't found us yet. That is the church's number one job. Any church, because I have a strong church background.
No responsibility to the
No, no, it's not. There is no responsibility. I just want to make sure we're not absolving the church of the church's responsibility.
Because His Majesty even said to them
Yeah.
that they should reach out more. That's why He reached out to
Yeah.
people in the Caribbean. And His Majesty even called them
Yes.
priests, call them a kingdom of priests, because they should go and evangelize the church.
Okay.
But I'm talking about,
So now we're on the same page with. So that's my first answer.
We are already on the same page.
Yeah.
With that answer.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that in the context of Ethiopia,
Mm-hmm.
I say I am who I am.
Yeah.
When I go to Ethiopia, I demonstrate it. Others like myself, when they go, many people from America, from England, and all that go to Ethiopia, and they demonstrate that concept that because they say they are Rastafarians, they go to the church to even say, all right, to prove it, because they follow Rastafari. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, and even on that concept, the brothers there, they teach them there, especially because I have one Aroma Bajaj driver. I don't know if you know what the Bajaj is.
No.
Bajaj is like a tuk-tuk, wheel, carry people around. When I go to Ethiopia, it's my driver. I've got his number with me.
Yeah.
When I go to Ethiopia, I can call it.
Yeah.
He takes me around. And that is one of his questions. We meet in church. Okay? And he's saying that, Rasta, you come here as a visitor, not live here. And you come to church. How about the other Rastafarians? I've never seen one of them in church. And to be honest with you, the church reaches out. That's neither here nor there, because church should really reach out.
The churches should reach out.
But the fact that you claim to be who you say you are, you live it.
Yeah, I'm not as rigid with my perspective on it. I think, one thing I love about Rastafari is Rastafari represents freedom. And Rastafari represents freedom to choose. You can follow it. Not everyone is following in His Imperial Majesty every single thing. I mean, there's more. I would say there's more of an issue with Rastafari not following in His Imperial Majesty's example with regards to how man and woman should live together and marriage.
That is one of the church's concept, because
maybe
maybe definitely, because family within the church and within the federation.
Yeah,
family is a key point within it. When you go there, it tells you, and if you go within all the organization within the church, it helps, not just tells, it helps in a financial way, in all the ways that you might need help. And it also gives you a perspective of how to coordinate and how to develop around people, and also even business. The church is the largest landowner in Ethiopia. And the church can find land for people without going out even outside of Shashamani. Because when the church gives you a mandate for a land, the government can't override it. And the church has land, and it would really give diaspora land outside of the land grant of Shashamani. But we don't gravitate to it.
I think it's an option. I think it's an option. I don't think it's the only option. And I think we have to deal with the fact that, the church, and it may not be the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, but the church has done a lot of harm to people who are Rastafari. And we have to acknowledge these things and invest in the work that it takes to overcome these things. We have had missionaries come to Jamaica and mentally, physically, sexually abuse our individuals, where they cannot get over it, and anything named church, they don't want to be a part of it. And if they find freedom and liberation and healing in Rastafari, I'm not gonna say you have to, in order for me to believe you're following His Imperial Majesty's vision, you have to become a part of any church. You know what I mean? So I think you have to have a holistic view that Rastafari really is about freedom and liberation, and that following His Imperial Majesty's example, it's a high standard, and most people are falling short, whether they're in the church or they're not in the church. What we can do, yes, the church can do more outreach. We can, those Rastafari that have found the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, we should talk about it more. We should make it look more attractive. The other part of it is, in modern times, they're busy lives. And even myself, this is on my list. This is like on my to-do list for this year. And I struggle to go to the Monday meeting of my Ethiopian Orthodox Church, where they're talking about the lifestyle of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. I say every week that I'm going to go, but I've gone to, 2 Mondays probably in the past 5 weeks because of either my work, the EWF, or something my son has going on. The same thing with the Wednesday meetings, which are Bible study meetings. So I think sometimes and I'll say like more our elders sometimes, because they've raised their kids already, and how they raised their kids was a lot in Rastafari, side by side at the events, whether it's even at the dances and all the things. In modern society, as a parent, it can be challenging walking in those footsteps, even if you're as intentional about it as I am. So I think there's opportunity. I'll acknowledge that there's opportunity for EWF members. I'm not going to limit it to Rastafari, whether they're Muslim or Hebrew Israelite or whatever, to learn more about the Ethiopian Orthodox Church as a part of His Imperial Majesty's life and his commitments. But I think it's going to be a process over time with a mutual um, outreach strategy. And I think we really need to evaluate and assess what modern parenting looks like with the obligations of the EWF. You know, uh, Even my local, I love my local. I learned so much from cause I have a lot of elders in my local that like have done worldwide things for Rastafari. Um, and I'm like, I want to follow in your footsteps. But then I look at like the things that I have to do for my son, or, our meetings are on Sunday. Sunday is like when I should be, hey, Judah, did you do all your homework? Let me check all your homework. Can I, what games do you have? Did you bring your clothes down so I could wash it? Those basic things, because I'm on EWF members most of Saturday and most of Sunday, it's really challenging for me. So what I end up having to do is like Sundays, because he's not going to bring down his clothes on Friday like he should. He brings down his clothes Sunday night when I'm on EWF call, and I don't even notice him bringing down the clothes. And then I'm like, "Where's your clothes?" He's like, "They're in the basement." So then I need to go now. So that means I'm starting a load of wash after the EWF call, and then I have to set an alarm for like 2 in the morning to get up to move his clothes from the washer to the dryer so I can iron his clothes at 6 a.m. Monday morning. So those are the things that I think we're a little detached from as far as what our members' lives look like, and incorporating, EWF, Ethiopian Orthodox Church, the obligations and things. I run towards those things, but I also do fall short, because right now this phase I'm in is parenting. And my son's a freshman now. He's graduating. He'll have 3 years beyond this year. I want to spend as much time influencing him right now as possible, because when he's gone, he's gone. You know, and so that's the reality of your question, as far as there's going to be time, and it's a product of mutual outreach. But let's not make it look hard either, because I think sometimes we make things look harder than they need to be, or we don't have the I don't want to call it compassion or restraint, but not all of our meetings need to go for 6 hours, because that's not realistic for the lifestyle of, as Ross Kwasi says. He's like, there's youth, young adult, mature adult, and then you have your elders, right? So for mature adults, they're like probably well in their careers, trying to work towards retirement maybe, or whatever. Your young adults, they're trying to maybe find a life partner and date and find someone who's in this world, someone who has some values and stands for something, and has pan-African vision that they can mate with and build a family, and that takes time. And then for your youth, you know they're watching us and being like, nah, I don't want to spend my time like that. You know, they're stuck in the digital world. So we have to be realistic about those things. Yeah.
Madam President, it's been a wonderful talking
It
to
has
you,
been.
and we're looking forward to your final 7 months of
Thank you. Me too.
administration, and we hope that you will continue beyond that.
Yes, give thanks. That's quite the endorsement. I'm grateful, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for you and love for you, and I know there's more that you'll share in appropriate time because you've had a lifetime catalog of experiences that I'm hungry to learn about, so I can be better at my job in the EWF, but better as a Rastafari, as a Rastafarian, and better as a person. So I'm committed to us building this relationship and reasoning so I can be stronger and better so that we can use that information against the real enemy, which is outside of the EWF. So I give thanks for all the time you were very intentional about meeting me at the airport when I left in October. That means the world to me that you would get up early in the morning, drive to the airport just to meet me for what could have been 5 minutes. We extended it, but just to lay eyes on me, and impart knowledge to me and your experience to me, and I'm very grateful.
It was a pleasure, and
Yes, I.
we hope that we will continue with a fruitful 7 months.
Yes, I.
And like I said,
Thank you.
beyond.
Bless it.
It's been
Yes.
wonderful talking to you, and we give thanks for your visit to us here at Radio EWFI.
Yes, I've been dying to come, so glad to be here.
And while you're in the state, you can also listen in because internet. We will give
I
you
will.
we give you a sticker that is a QR code.
Yes.
Once you look at the food on your camera,
Mm-hmm.
it comes up and you can tune in.
Fantastic. Owning the media is so important for the future of our people. There are other people, other cultures that they own all newspapers, they own all TV stations, they own all movie studios, and we have to create our own one at a time. So this work that's being done by the EWFI, I want to shout out Ross Nashan. He has a radio station in Local 12, and what Russ Quasi's doing with Lion Talk Radio and all the ones and ones. We see you. This is owning our story is so important. Giving accurate news is so important to the future of our community, to preventing us from being annihilated. These conversations are critical. So thank you for being the media outlet for Ghana, where they can come and get the truth, because truth is so rare nowadays. Yes, I.
Once again,
thank you.
Very
Yes,
much.
Majesty,
and
honor.
Wonderful stay in Ghana.
Thank you. I always do. This is my home.
Most people are attracted, especially the first time.
Yeah.
The second time they come. That's what got me here in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
I've been here now for 24 years, and
yes,
I wouldn't live anywhere else.
It's a magical place.
This is a magical.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Empress.
Thank you so much, Brother Amdi. Thank you. Thank you for your example. Blessed love.
Now, a little bit of music from.
That was great, huh? You enjoyed it? You kept me on my toes.